Hi, welcome to homeschooling. A lot of you new homeschoolers out there may be wondering how exactly to get started and struggling with that beginning of routine. So I created a short presentation to help y'all out with that. The first thing that helps, I think, is giving your kids agency, as much agency as you possibly can, from everything from building their own schedule to choosing their own materials within reason according to their age. And obviously it's easiest if you vet the materials and you present parameters of the schedule and then help them to decide what they need from that. So you can tell them, I am available to help you between these hours. And so whatever you're going to need help with has to happen here, but otherwise the order of what you do is fine, or these are the materials or the price range that works for us for this topic. You can choose it. And if you can take your kid with you to the teaching store or whatever, that's awesome. And then they can help choose what they want, because if they have agency and control over things, they're more interested and more motivated to actually do it. The next thing that helps is the schedule. So you need to start every day getting whatever you need to get done first to stay sane. So putting on your own oxygen mask before your kids is such a thing. It's so true, because you need to be in the good psyche space to be able to do this so that you don't lose your mind, right? Then the next thing is, if you have multiple children, I recommend giving attention to your youngest child first, because usually once you prove to them that you know that they're there and you are paying attention to them, then usually they're a little bit less needy and they'll give you a little bit of space to help your older kid or kids. Next, routine. Kids love routine, and the more your child struggles with like ADD or something like that, the more they need a routine. So try to establish some kind of routine and make it super easy and simple and manageable. Do not try to schedule like 6 hours Monday through Friday, or come up with a complicated routine that changes from day to day. At least don't try that right away, because it's hard. Come up with whatever you have the bandwidth to manage. So in my family with 5 kids and me having a part-time job, the most routine I could do is in the morning, I take my kids to the park, and in between playing, I help them accomplish like 2 things on their to-do list. And then we have 20 minutes of table work when we get home. So basically I'm only scheduling like an hour and a half of my day. That's all I can schedule in advance. That happens every day, but at least we all know that that hour and a half is going to happen every day. And then the other things can kind of fall into place. My kids have a list of what they need to do, like this, that tells them, you know, this is what you have to do every day. And it's easy for me to just change it up as necessary, but at least they have a framework to work with, which makes people less anxious. Okay. Also, it's good to know that it takes at least 2 weeks usually to establish a routine. And in schools, they usually give you like 3 months before they start introducing new material. It's usually like 3 months of just learning the policies of the classroom, acclimating to the new teacher, and getting to know the other students and reviewing material. So if you're trying to establish a routine and it's like not working yet, unless 3 months have elapsed and you have made absolutely no progress whatsoever, don't worry, you're probably doing just fine. It does take time. Yeah, so be kind to yourself. Next, logistics. Figure out when your kid is going to need you and when they don't. At the beginning, they're going to need you a lot more. By the end of the month, this much less. By the end of the year, your child will be able to do like way, way more by themselves, self-directed, from what they were able to do at the beginning. But especially if your kid is used to school, or if your kid is super young, it's going to take a long time for them to figure out how to buckle down and do what they need to do without a lot of guidance and help. And that's totally age appropriate and logical. At school, they're spoon-fed directions, like they're taught, you have this subject from 9 to 9:30, and then you go to this classroom and have this subject from 9:30 to 10. So self-directed learning, even for an older kid, is going to be totally new to them, because it's completely contrary to what they're used to doing. For young kids, they usually need to change activity like every 7 to 20 minutes. So if your kid is like under 3rd grade and you're finding that they tend to be kind of unproductive after 7 to 20 minutes, depending on the kid, that's age appropriate behavior. And it's not bad. It just means you have to change up the activity. It will get better as they get used to it, and they might need a lot of hand holding in the beginning, but they won't forever. And I've gotten to the point where I usually take whatever my kids are learning and I will show it to them and do a couple of like practice problems with them first, and then let them sail while I help one of my other kids, or while I unload the dishwasher or drive the car and they're doing it in the car or something like that. It's going to take some time. It may take a couple of weeks for you to figure out which subjects you need to be really hands-on for and which subjects your child will be able to kind of sail through while you do your stuff during the day. Set reasonable expectations, both for yourself and for your kid. So schedule frequent breaks, not only for your child, but for you too, because you control the weather in your classroom. So if you're stormy, then your kids are going to feel stormy. Everything's going to get blown around. So schedule frequent breaks, and incorporate as many learning games as possible to make it like fun, and try, especially at the beginning until you know your child's learning style, try to incorporate as many different learning styles as possible. If your kid is learning the times tables, multiplication wrap-ups, music videos, the multiplication like rock and learn kind of stuff where it's a song, filling out the multiplication table, literally like that long table. Try to do it as many different ways as you possibly can to figure out what works. And this process of learning your child's learning style might take a month or 2 months. There are learning style quizzes that you can give your kid too. If your child is like, I would say maybe 2nd grade and up, you can take a quiz online and that might help guide you as well. Lastly, remember that recreation is also learning. So Maria Montessori, who is the doctor who started Montessori schools, said play is the work of the child. And she was completely correct. In Finland, school is like 2 hours a day. And the rest of the day is like free play. It's unstructured play. They do learn when they're playing. So don't be afraid to give your kids some play breaks, especially at the beginning of the year when they're changing gears and suddenly doing schoolwork, especially if you're new to homeschooling, then that's like a big change for your kid. So it might take them a while to get into the swing of it. And you don't want to try to teach a kid who's feeling burnt out or overwhelmed, because they're not going to get very far very fast. It's inefficient and sad. So don't be afraid to let them play. And as much as your schedule allows, try to play with your child. Because when you play with your child, you build rapport, right? Your child is going to be happier taking direction from you if you're playing with them. Aside from the fact that you did not have these children so that you could be a taskmaster all the time. You have them because you love them and you want to spend time with them. So I hope this was helpful in getting you started with homeschooling. Feel free to comment below if you still have questions or if you have any suggestions to add. And thank you. Good luck on your homeschool journey.